The NFL trade deadline is quickly approaching, and one thing I think we can all agree on is this NFL season has been crazy. The Seahawks, led by Geno Smith, are leading the NFC West and are playing good football, while the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson have taken a huge step back. But with the trade deadline approaching and seeing how the 49ers already made a monumental trade to acquire Christian McCaffrey, other contending teams will be looking to do the same. We saw the Rams do it last year to acquire future Hall of Famer Von Miller, and it paid off. The Rams won the Super Bowl, and sure, they may be struggling at the moment, but Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, and Aaron Donald are all Super Bowl champions. But will there be a team that makes a huge trade this year that helps them become future champions? And that brings us to the topic of today's video of NFL players that could be traded before the deadline. And before we get started, I do want to say we are nearly midway through the football season, as crazy as that sounds. Some teams are pretenders and some teams are contenders. And why not have an extra incentive to watch the games you're already going to watch? This great deal from DraftKings allows new customers to bet $5 on any team to win straight up to receive an additional $200 in free bets if your bet cashes. So in Week 8, for example, all Philly has to do is beat Pittsburgh, and using code ANALYSIS with a $5 deposit nets you $200 in free bets. We're nearly midway through the season, and $5 to receive $200 in free bets sounds like a great deal to me. Again, that's using code ANALYSIS, and a big thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring today's video. The first player we are going to discuss in today's video is Browns running back Kareem Hunt. This has been a player that's been involved in trade discussions for a little while now, or at least is usually brought up in rumors, and it's for good reason. He plays behind Nick Chubb, who is currently leading the NFL in rushing with nearly 6 yards per carry on a team that's 2-5. They are 2 games back in the AFC North with Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback for the next month or so, and Kareem Hunt will more than likely not be a part of the team next year. He is in the final year of his contract, and from a money standpoint, teams would pay what he is due for the remaining part of 2022, meaning he had a cap hit of $6.25 million at the beginning of the season, but because 7 games have already been played, the portion he has played would be subtracted from the $6.25 million. And it makes a lot of sense for a team like Philadelphia to trade for Kareem Hunt as they push for a Super Bowl run. They are 6-0, and their schedule isn't too difficult down the stretch, and the cost for Kareem would not be that much. James Robinson of the Jags was just traded for a conditional 6th, and he is a younger back than Kareem, and the Jets were already in a desperate situation, so I do think Kareem would go for around the same. And if I'm Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, this is a trade I'm strongly considering. We did a video recently on the Eagles and how their offense helps their defense, and the link for that will be at the end of this video if you're interested in watching, but the Eagles could keep him, Miles Sanders, and to a degree Kenny Gainwell healthy throughout the whole game and essentially have all 3 backs fresh in the 4th quarter behind that big bruising offensive line. Trading a late round pick for half a year of Kareem Hunt while keeping every back in the rotation fresh behind one of the best offensive lines to me in the midst of a Super Bowl push is a must, and Kareem could very well get them over the hump, and I hope general manager Howie Roseman makes it happen. Next up is Jeudy of the Denver Broncos, and this makes sense for a few reasons. Jerry obviously hasn't had the start to his career that he would have liked, and that would be an understatement. After back-to-back 1,000-yard double-digit touchdown seasons to close his career at Alabama, he was drafted number 15 overall and has not put together a singular 1,000-yard season in the NFL. The Broncos' offense has been extremely disappointing this season, and Jerry has just one 100-yard game in the first 7. I wouldn't call Jeudy a true draft bust, because that's a word, to me at least, that's reserved for players that really don't contribute at all, but I would say Jeudy has been disappointing relative to where he was drafted. Jeudy, unlike Kareem or the other players that will be discussed in today's video, will be kind of a wait and see how Week 8 plays, because there is a very slim chance the Broncos can keep their season alive. They have to win in Week 8. Period. They are currently 2-5, but their defense has given up an average of just 16.4 points per game and have been killing it. And it's honestly a shame the offense can't put anything together, but if they lose in London to Jacksonville and drop to 2-6, then Jeudy should be moved because their season would effectively be over. And it would make a ton of sense to trade him to a team like the Green Bay Packers, who have been struggling in the worst way offensively this year. They've dropped 3 straight games to the Giants, Jets, and most recently the Washington Commanders, and Aaron Rodgers needs help. Jeudy is still on his rookie contract, and their top 3 receivers right now are Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, and Robert Tonyan. I do believe Green Bay in a lot of ways failed Aaron Rodgers this offseason, most notably by taking not 1 but 2 defensive players in the first round and drafting a player from North Dakota State who had drop issues in college in Christian Watson over a receiver like George Pickens. Not to say Pickens would solve all of their problems, because he wouldn't, but they'd be in a better situation than they are in now. Bringing in Jerry Jeudy would help this team out in a spot where they need help most. The cost wouldn't be that much, as Jeudy hasn't been that great of an NFL player, and on top of it, Jeudy is only 23 years old, and there is still a ton of potential there. Will Green Bay win a Super Bowl this year? Probably not, but I'd rather go down swinging for the fences than striking out with the bat on my shoulder. From Denver to LA, we go to discuss Cam Akers of the Los Angeles Rams. Cam isn't in today's video because the Rams are trying to sell, but because he is both underused and unhappy in his current situation. Cam's career path has been an interesting one to follow, and also, in some ways, unfortunate. He had a solid end to his rookie season back in 2020, as there was a 4-game span where he ran for 390 yards, and in particular had a game with over 170 yards rushing. This was the game people were sold on Cam Akers, myself included, and thought he was going to be a good back in the league for some time, and this was what people sold themselves on entering 2021. Unfortunately, in July of 2021, he tore his Achilles, and when he came back in Week 18, and even for the postseason run, he was not the same player. He had 5 carries for just 3 yards in the Week 18 game against the 49ers, and during the Super Bowl run, in 4 games, had 67 carries for 172 yards, averaging just 2.57 yards per attempt. Akers would pretty much be the textbook definition of buying low on a player, and it would also benefit the Rams too. The Rams' draft capital for 2023, not surprisingly, includes no first-round pick due to the Stafford trade and no fourth-round pick. Now, they wouldn't receive either for Akers at this point, but they do have 2 fifth-round picks, 4 6th-round picks, and 2 7th-round picks, and I do believe if Akers is traded, it would be Cam and one of those 7ths for a 6th-round pick. We see these types of trades fairly often, and for Cam it makes a lot of sense. It's an extremely low-risk trade for a team like Buffalo, who wants a running back, and they get a player who has shown flashes before. And in the scenario they would trade him there is zero pressure on Cam to perform really at all in Western New York because of all of the playmakers they have on the team. It would truly be a dart throw for Buffalo, and they get a player for the rest of 2022 and 2023 to see if they can get anything out of him. This is a combination of a few things, from Cam being frustrated, head coach Sean McVay being frustrated with Cam, and I do think the best thing for both parties at this point is a mutual split. I did a video about a month ago on this topic, and Robert Quinn was one of the players in that video and was very deserving of being a player in today's video, and was actually traded during the process of making this and is now a Philadelphia Eagle. And while I didn't intend to do 2 members of one team in the same video, Here we are with Bradley Chubb of the Denver Broncos. It is truly rare territory where we see premier edge rushers get traded because they are a very hot commodity, and there's a reason for that. They have such high positional value, and this is another reason as to why, aside from quarterback, this position is selected the most at the top of NFL drafts. Not near the top, not pick 2 or 3, but the number 1 overall pick. And when you combine a team with no first-round pick this year, with the potential of them being 2-6, because they gave up a lot for their future in Russell Wilson, they're going to have to sell a piece of the team somewhere, and both Chubb and Jeudy could fall victim to this. Chubb is in the final year of his deal and has 5.5 sacks in 7 games. He would be more than welcomed to any contending team, but how much would they give up is the question. With the Eagles already trading for Quinn, this to a degree limits what Denver could get because that's one less team that would trade for him. Denver would prefer to trade him out of conference because whichever team would trade for him would almost certainly be extending him, as this would require significant draft capital. It really doesn't matter to Denver if he is an 8-game rental like Von Miller was to the Rams. It matters that they are trading a 26-year-old edge rusher who has 1 double-digit sack season and is among the league leader in sacks this year and looks to be hitting his prime. Chubb also has had limited pass rushing opportunities this year and is playing a huge part on what is a very good defense, meaning he isn't even close to what he could do in his full potential. But the Broncos are going to need draft capital to fix the damage they've created. Some other players that could be traded include Shaquille Leonard of the Colts, Elijah Moore of the Jets, and Brandon Cooks of the Houston Texans. With Cook's contract, this would make a lot of sense. But that's all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, I now ask you to please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would not only mean the world, but also be very much appreciated. And until next time, as always, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.